So, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the NASSCOM BPM webinar series. I'm Sujit Tunni, Regional Head for Kerala and the moderator for today's session. As you are aware, we have a National BPM Council and its priorities are capacity building, market development and positioning the industry, the BPM industry for meeting its larger goal. So these are the couple of goals which we have. Every 2 years we have this council getting elected, and that works in synergies with the National Executive Council of NASSCOM. So similarly, we have multiple councils like the SME, product engineering, R&D, stuff like that. So under the aegis of this BPM Council, as an initiative, this year we have planned for five national webinars, and this is one among them. So this is the second session happening today. So there is other 3 more sessions will be there, and we will be get notified once things are in place. So once again, let me welcome you all to the panel discussion on building strong HR capabilities in the shared service model. So in this, today's rapidly evolving business landscape, HR is actually playing a very pivotal role in driving the organizational successes. You all will agree to me on that. So as companies increasingly adopt and shared services models to optimize operations, it's imperative that HR adapts and excels in this environment. So we have got an extremely good list of panelists for today. So our experts will delve into these strategies, best practices, and some of the real world learnings which they have in and the insight which they have gotten to help us navigate this exciting transformation. So we encourage you to engage actively and share your experience and explore how to harness HR's potential within the shared services. There is an option where you can post your questions in the Q&A window, and or maybe, I will prefer it could be in the Q&A window so that it's easy for me to read out to them and try to get them as much as answered as much as possible. So let's welcome you all and embark on this enlightening journey together. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have got a good crowd as of now. So we have planned for 3 panelists, but today Mr. Neeraj Sharma, he's have some sort of an medical emergency at his home, so he will not be able to make it for today. So here we have got 2 esteemed panelists, Ms. Rashmi Singh. She is the Senior Vice President and the Global Head for HR Operations at Vodafone Intelligent Solutions. Welcome, Ms. Rashmi Singh, for joining us today. And we have Mr. Anirban Das. He's the Vice President, Allied Solutions, Asia Pacific. And he is a veteran, and he has manages payrolls and professional services. Thank you so much for joining, Anirban, also on this day. So both of them are actually, Rashmi joins from Delhi, and Mr. Anirban, he joins from Singapore, and I am based out of Trivandrum today. So thank you all and welcome to the panel today. So Rashmi and Anirban, you want to
Sujit, I guess I just got dropped off. Just the last moment glitch, as you always see. But then, if at all you had any a while, I know you were building it up. If you have any question for me, I can just straight away answer. But I just lost the connection for a while. Yeah.
No. I was just giving a small quick intro, and how we are actually trying to follow. That's the only thing happening. And so probably without any further ado, I thought of just getting into straight away to the question that you are we also stand for the diversity inclusion. So let's start the first question with you. So we have all heard about the shared services thing. So how actually this shared services has evolved? So you have been in this industry for more than maybe 15, 16 years. So will you just pen out something on how the HR shared services has evolved, please?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Sujit, I'll mention that I carry a 26 years of work experience.
Rashmi,
you just started typically pure operations. So the time that I start, so I must yeah. Am I audible?
Yeah. In between, slightly got a freeze.
Am I audible now? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So all that I'll mention is that, I think we over the years, the BPM industry has matured. And while we, had many processes which came into play because we were, serving the end customer, I think HR shared services gained the momentum in the last 10 years because we started looking at some issue there with my network, looks as if, yeah, just the wrong time. I never get any issue otherwise. Okay. So all I'll say is that HR shared services in the last 10 years has really evolved, and I think evolved for good, for the reason that it had started being looked as, servicing as the way that used to look in a BPM industry, service the end customer. I think we're looking at employees as our end customer. And with that thought process, it has really evolved across the life cycle of HR services. I do see a freeze there, but I hope my voice is audible. So I see that over the years, whether it's payroll, whether it is resourcing, whether it is workforce administration, whether it is HR data analytics, in all areas, the services has evolved, and as much as you know that. Since it was related to employees and people, the organizations wanted to keep that as within the shared services domain, not give it to a third party. But I must say that the processes has evolved, and we have moved from that first generation of just creating those processes, but now talking about what more, how much effective it can be. How do we optimize it, simplify it, and create a differentiating employee experience? So I think the best thing which has happened over the years is that we've started looking at, seeing employee as our end customer, and started evolving ourselves to be best in the place of servicing our employees in the most digitized way. So yes, over the years, it has really, taken a new avatar. And I would say the journey is not stopping because right now, while you started looking at processes, from the lens of, how do we make it effective? I think we started looking at how do we digitize it completely, make it, a self-service channel rather than a people-dependent channel. So I would say there's a lot of focus, across the chain. And just to mention, I think I'm sure many of you who must have joined a new organization or, in the past, I see that the appreciation of digital onboarding, even for that matter, the L&D is all, you see it's touchless. You just plan to do, and you just go ahead and do it, and there aren't any dependencies. It's become more efficient as well. So must say it has evolved, and not only in India as a shared services, but across the globe. The services are getting looked at from a very different lens. So I must admit, yes, HR shared services is maybe the last one in the pyramid because, of course, relevance. But then now it has really gained a lot of momentum. Yeah.
So, thank you, Rashmi. So, coming back to the other thing which I've thought across is since you've talked about a couple of HR operations out, so how, which are all the matured one, if I would say, add on as a second question to you, it's you're talking about different operations out there. So which one is the matured one, most matured one?
So there's a lot of development which has happened in many other areas, but I would say payroll is the matured one. You started getting your salary much ahead of time, on time. The reimbursements are happening the way that you submit the bills. You will see it within a window time, which is, and there's a lot of background work which goes. So whether it is in-house or whether it is with a vendor, I think payroll definitely has matured. For that matter, even the way the resourcing happens, it is also maturing. So, you have Eightfold, you have AI playing a role, to how to really screen the candidatures. And then, that entire process flow, which has come into play, is also fairly in a strong space. Leave and absence is another piece. I can just let you know, I don't think so we swipe the cards. And so it is getting evolved that way. The moment you log in, all your data comes in on the back end and all those validations happen. So even that one is maturing. I know there's different organizations in terms of embracement, maybe in a different rung, but solutions are there, and very smart solutions are there. And equally the query management. I guess earlier, send a mail and then just wait and maybe you get a response. Now everything is ticketized, everything is, there's a turnaround time, and there's a closure, there's an eNPS. So I think these areas definitely have, and of course the L&D. I must say, I think the combination of in-house solutions as well as what is best in the market, all those solutions have also come into play. So that is also in a strong space. Is there an opportunity? Certainly there's much more, because we are all looking at a lens of how do we optimize it to the fullest and create the best of experience. But these are the areas which certainly we have seen they have really evolved. Much more to do to create efficiencies there, but otherwise it has it's in a strong space right now.
Yeah, Rashmi, there is a question which came in. Thank you, Rashmi, for sharing the insights from Mohammed Shahis. I have a question with the new DPDP Act 2023, how this is emerging as an HR. So do you want to take this right away, or you want to have the Q&A all outside? I mean, once we are done with the normal set of questions, then you want to take this up, or do you want to answer this right away?
I think we can take a little later, let the flow get in. Otherwise, what do you say?
Yeah, I'll come back to you with the the Q&A questions once we are done with the set of questions which we have. So we'll come back on that. So
sure.
Anirban, while I was actually going through your profile, I came to know that you're a veteran in terms of HR transformation. So I have a question for you. This landscape of technology is evolving a lot, and the emerging areas, which you actually see. In what are the emerging areas maybe which is pivotal for the HR transformation?
Sure. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be part of the NASSCOM session, and it's always exciting to interact with the larger NASSCOM community. So I'm looking forward for an exciting session today. Just a background, I think I have more than 20 plus years within HR transformation, and we have been helping clients to move from various HR complexities. I definitely feel in today's fast-changing technology landscape, HR is forefront of digital transformation. Emerging technologies like AI, ML, data analytics, the advent of chatbots, various remote working tools are reshaping the HR practices. Now, these innovations streamline processes, enhance employee experience, and it enables data-driven decision-making. Okay. The HR tech addresses priorities such as employee well-being, diversity. We spoke about diversity, personalized learning experience. And these are very important in today's world to have a highly engaged workforce. So when I look at top 5 emerging areas within HR transformation, now you have to think about transformation, like whether you start from hire to retire, recruiting, onboarding, with the advent of new technologies. And I will focus on 5 areas. The first being AI and ML. As we go about reshaping the HR business processes and transforming organization, there is a huge focus on leveraging AI and ML within the existing processes. For example, I'll just call out one, like recruiting processes. AI is used to reduce resume screening time. You have thousands of resume screening. Gone are the days when somebody is looking at a screen to go over the various resumes and shortlist. You leverage AI to do all of this. Identifying the right hiring source, or helping HR find talent faster internally or within candidates who have applied in last 3 months or 6 months, depending on regulatory compliance on how long you can keep resumes. So AI and ML is being used very effectively. So when we look at transformation, we are looking at the business processes and seeing how can recruiters and talent acquisition team leverage these tools to enhance and fast track these processes. The second big area which is emerging within the broader transformation is the leverage of RPA. The focus is, as we look at HR as an organization or function, it is how can we minimize HR tasks to do more operational or transactional work and have them focus more on strategic work. Now, how can that be enabled? That can only be enabled by automating a lot of the tasks. And currently we have a trend where organizations are looking somewhere close to 40 to 50% of HR tasks being automated, saving time, gaining efficiency, as well as reducing errors. And in the world, there are RPA tools, even internally. We run operations for more than 100 plus clients globally. And these are large organizations within Fortune 500, as well as 70% of Fortune 100 are our clients. We have been leveraging a lot of RPA tools to automate day-to-day mundane tasks so that HR can get freed up from these transactional activities, can be uploading of overtime hours, or can be related to handling any specific payroll related errors. I think Rashmi mentioned about payroll. There is a lot of AI, ML and RPA being used to minimize errors. We have predictive analysis tools on are there any anomalies in payroll which you can find upfront. So rather than being reactive, you are more predictive and leverage tools to do that. The third big area within the transformation is around employee experience and ensuring that you give employees the right experience. So when we look at employee experience, I'll just talk, employee experience is very broad when you talk. The entire transformation is based on employee experience. That's one of the key attributes. So interest of time, I'll just talk about one, like chatbot and virtual assistants. In today's world, everything needs to be on tip of your fingertip. Nobody likes to get into a call and spend time talking about if they need information and answers. So it's very important that processes have chatbots and virtual assistants built in, and you're leveraging tools to do it rather than having a human go and give answers. So, the focus is, as we start an interaction with an employee, can the chatbot and the virtual assistant give 70 to 80% of the answers, and let's have human pitch in these chatbots for remaining 20-30%. And that's very important to improve efficiency, lower cost of service, as well as ensuring you are giving the right amount of employee experience. I definitely feel that employee experience is a very key focus area, and that's why it's in third in the list. So the fourth item would be around learning and development tools. I think today we all know that it is an employees market. Employee is in the forefront of driving decisions on deciding, and pay is not the only deciding factors which retain employees. One key focus area is how are you invested in giving the latest tools and technologies, invested in doing career development, invested in learning. So learning development tools and ensuring that employees have the right learning tools, which just not gives them tools or trainings or learning which is specific for their job. It needs to be much broader. It needs to be around consulting ability, communication ability, soft skills, email. So there is a lot of focus on building learning and development technology within process transformation, because as you look for hiring the right candidate, it's also equally important to nurturing and retaining the talent. So there is a lot of focus on leveraging learning tools and how it's integrated with overall HR processes, whether it is promotion, whether it's career development, growing high potential talent. The learning and development tech tools is a key area. And the last key aspects around HR transformation, where the focus area is around HR analytics. I think it's huge. We leverage a lot of predictive analytics, like companies are using predictive analytics to go ahead of the curve for, say, retention. Rather than going reactive with attrition and terminations, are you building the entire process where you are using predictive analytics based on various factors to predict what is your population which is at risk to attract, and then take corrective actions. So these are all baked into your overall transformation. When you are doing a transformation, you bake in all these aspects to ensure you're driving efficiency, you're improving employee experience, as well as ensuring that you're freeing HR to do more strategic work rather than transactional work.
Yeah. You know what, Sujit, I'll just add to what Anirban mentioned while he mentioned the ecosystem, and I must tell you that this is very much live as we are speaking. So right from the time that, our position opens up, like in our organization, and Gartner, in fact, mentioned in London in their webinar, where, the best practice that we have is that, we are able to, through AI, understand what was the skill set, what was the experience, what would be really required for that particular role, so that when the resources, they go out in the market, they very clearly know what do they need. So that's a starting point. And in fact, even internally, because positions do get opened up internally and to outside world, a similar approach is applied. So the match, and you have the data bank with you, so the match is very clearly, you're able to make it out. So that is one. So that's starting from the journey of, the employee coming in. Then when you get you offer the employee, a prospective employee, there's touchless intervention in the sense even the signatures are all digitized. They don't have to come to the office. They don't have to give any paperwork. Everything is digital. So they just come to office, and now that out of COVID zone, so they collect the laptop and that's it. And even earlier that wasn't happening. So that is another experience which is there. To what Anirban mentioned, the chatbot. So we have already, I'm just trying to let you know that it's already live. 70% of the queries gets taken by this HR assistant, as we call, already. And now it's like, how do we demystify certain aspects, which is where probably engagement of an HR VP is involved. So, but then whatever use case we have put into play, the result has been just awesome. To mention the least that, what Anirban is mentioning, we are living through it. It's now taking to the next level of, okay, we started using all this. But then how to, become more efficient and, optimizing it to 100% is what, we're looking at. So just wanted to give a practical example to the discussion that we had.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
I do see a question, and I'll take that question. Thanks, Mohammed, for the question. On what are the tools that you should implement? Now, on AI ML. Now, look, in terms of as you look at HR applications, AI and ML is based on data. You would need data to leverage the AI engine to work. Okay, so most of the large HR platforms, whether it's Workday, whether it's SF, whether it's Oracle, they all have, like, I can talk a lot about Workday because that's an HR product or platform which is used by several large organizations and a lot of our clients. They have over millions of, they have close to 600 million plus employee data. Now they leverage a lot of this to build in chatbots, virtual assistants, to build in predictive analytics tools, which is using the power of the data that they have. And then it comes baked into your HR platform. And that's very essential that rather than investing in separate, if you invest in technology and if it falls within that, the platform that you are purchasing and buying, then it's best because it's all tightly integrated. Then you as a user or a client don't have to worry about integrating or spending more. It's all built in and comes with the platform. For example, for our payroll, we have LOS, which is our anomaly detection. So when we run the payroll, we are big in payroll. We process payroll for over 500 plus clients across 188 countries. What we saw is it's very important when our operations team is processing payroll. AI ML is all built in. We look at anomalies, what happened same time last year, what happened last quarter, or what happened last month, to see if there is a change, if there is a huge deduction which happened, or is a huge payout which is getting in, you would need the tool to go and predict. And it has to be baked into the platform you're purchasing so that it's very predictive. The other area where we invest a lot is around paychecks. We have self-explanatory paychecks, which will go and explain why there is a difference in calculations. So all this leads to better employee experience. So my short answer would be, it should be baked into the platform that you are investing on, and it shouldn't have to be separate.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll
Thank you,
just add
Anirban.
to your answer, Anirban. Yeah, Shehzad, if you're looking at a solution to implement, see, depending on the size of the organization, see, ML is what it plays on the data, right? So if you have a data repository, you can put that into play to really see, how the output is coming. So, but AI is something where probably you will have to see where you want to, which area that you're looking at, like SuccessFactors and others, you will get those solutions as what Anirban mentioned, you'll still get it with the pack. But depending on the the scope of the organization and the budget of the organization, you will really have to see what works best, because there are many solutions which are there on the ground, on the journey, of the life cycle of HR services. So I would say that, there are many solutions. There are many big solutions as well. How do you really come to an understanding which one is better? One, of course, will be a cost, which will be a huge driver for you, the maintenance of it. And alongside, what is that exactly that you need for what purpose? Because there are solutions which are totally just catering to your resourcing, like what Anirban said, to your payroll or to your workforce administration or to your analytics as well. So right now, I would say we are lucky in the space that, we have many solutions to pick up from. I think the due diligence has to be done from the lens of cost and the benefit, and what is really the requirement. And now that I've answered, we're answering the questions, I'll also take your question on DP Act. So see, in India, maybe this is for the first time. It has come in, but we were really, working with that guidance for, across the globe, because we do serve organizations. In fact, most of the shared services, they operate out of India, but they deliver services outside India. So for us, this is like something which is like BAU, because we have a risk compliance and, whatever needs to be taken care of in this, approach. So for us, it is just one of the guidelines which has come from for India, and we follow it because we already have a very strong setup to ensure the data privacy, the risk getting addressed. So we have a model, we have a process. We just need to make sure that it is, and we were doing it in the past as well. Now, just that, it was not an official act. That doesn't mean that we weren't doing it. We were doing it. It's just that we'll be, we know this will come as an audit as well. So we are more conscious about it. Yeah. So I hope that helped you get the
Thank you, Mohammed. I mean, making my life easy. So I mean, since we touched upon the AI ML kind of a thing, so Gen AI, which is a buzzword. So I know when there are many tools around it which can be made use in the shared service as well. So how you are actually leveraging Gen AI within the HR shared services to drive the transformation efficiency? So maybe Anirban, you have been in this transformation for quite some time. So will you be able to touch upon something on that? So how this, how are you actually leveraging Gen AI tools in the shared services thing? Yeah. Anirban, you're on mute.
Okay. I definitely feel generative AI has taken the entire industry as a storm. With the advent of ChatGPT, with Bard, with AI-based revolution in Google and other tech players, there are different generative AI tools which are available. Now, generative AI, I definitely will say it is a subset of the larger artificial intelligence or the AI. It helps to create new content. It allows employees to get better trained using existing data, patterns, and examples. And it also is touching various aspects within the HR. Okay, so just to give some flavor, okay, let's talk about areas like creating better job descriptions, training material, policies. As we look at job descriptions, earlier this was very manual. Okay, that the task of job descriptions, we saw job descriptions are not catering to right gender. We have job descriptions where the skills don't match with what is actually required to do the work. So again, we use a lot of generative AI engines to go and ensure that job descriptions are accurate, it's concise, it is up to the date. It also factors in the right skills which is required to do the job, and it's ensuring that it's not outdated based on the studying of the skills, what employees are currently working, what the skills they have. And then it matches back with the job descriptions which are being used to ensure they are all up to date and have the right verbiage and content, so that as candidates apply, they know what they are getting at. The same likewise goes we are moving from, there is a shift towards a skill-based organization. So as we go and work in current organizations, it's very important that you have a right focus on the latest skills which is required to do the job. Because with advent of technology, things are moving at a very rapid and a fast rate. So what we required even 4 years back or 5 years for the same job profile, now the requirement has changed a lot, and it's very important that you are having the right skills and you're investing in the right skills as you get your staff trained and ensure that they are able to perform it well. The other areas where I see generative AI being used is in terms of improving candidate and employee experience. This is again a big area, and a lot of this is done where as candidates onboard and they are going through an entire onboarding experience, we go and collect feedback about their experience. Now, some of these engines then give this feedback and it's fed back to see what change we need to do in the process. Because gone are the days that you can have one set of onboarding process for the entire organization. You will have to ensure that it is personalized for the department, personalized for the generation, or whether it's a Gen X which is coming in, it's a baby boomer which is coming in, it's experienced lateral hire. Your onboarding needs to be catered and tailored. So personalization is very important. And we are leveraging a lot of generative AI engines inputs to ensure that personalization is being provided. Last, I would, what comes in my mind is around performance reviews. Like we are moving, even internally, we are moving towards a model, and we see a lot of clients adopting. We are moving towards a continuous performance model, where performance discussions don't happen once in a year towards the end or middle year, end of the year. This is continuous in discussion which happens. Now, we all know that the managers might be too busy doing day-to-day. So it's very important that when we go about doing evaluation, it is driven with key metrics and measures, which is then fed back with the managers, so that when they are having discussions, it is data-driven and metrics-based. And it's also based, if somebody is saying that you have to move from one position to other and you're having these discussions, it needs to be fact-based on how others are progressing, so that the managers is having all the data points readily available, which facilitates a faster discussion. So these would be the top ones which comes top of my mind. There are the use cases huge when it comes to generative AI. I think employee engagement is a big area which we can talk a lot. But I think these would be some of the cases which comes top of my mind.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anirban.
And I think
Rashmi, want to add?
I'll just add to this. Yeah, absolutely. These are the topics that, we are living and breathing throughout, our days. I would say the generative AI is going to radically change our entire, as we say, once the employee is onboarded till the exit, all the query management which is done. It's going to radically change the way that we're doing it. Of course, the chatbot bots were really helpful. I would say the HR assistants, as we called it, were really helpful. But then, see, it was all document based. They were not scanning all the answers. They knew that for this keyword they need to go there, to a particular place to fetch the information. Generative AI is going to be a game changer. And we are right now, as we are speaking, we're working through it because we had invested ourselves on chatbots, and suddenly the generative AI, quotient has come in, and we don't want to lag behind because this is going to definitely ensure that our dependency, which is still there in the system, goes away. At least 90-95% of the stuff can be just worked through this generative AI. So I would say that the embracement of this is going to be much faster because everybody is seeing the merit. But as I always say, every solution comes with a cost. I think that is what something that we all are trying to figure out between the solutions of generative AI, what is the best and what is sustainable. But this is something which is there on the ground, and it's a matter of time that you'll start seeing it practically as a used case everywhere. So besides all other solutions that we had in the past, this is going to overrule. For sure. Yeah.
And just one final thought around generative AI. Just keep one thing in mind, that the generative AI isn't perfect. Okay, it can provide with inaccuracy. It could even result in certain biases based on historical data. Okay, so that's where I feel like HR professionals, although you will use an AI engine, but HR professionals still have to ensure they are using fair standards, there is transparency, they actually review the outcomes and then decide how they would like to leverage that in order to improve experience. So that's one limitation. So it cannot, AI engine would never replace the human mind, the human touch, which is always required within human resources.
Thank you. That was actually a brilliant one. So, Anirban, while we were actually talking about, you were mentioning some sort of a skills and, stuffs there, because, we have always a selective, residence to skills related things because we run SSC council as well. So, the HR professionals, while they're actually into the share services with all these new technologies as well. So, which are all the skills and enhancements which they need to look at? In this changing scenario. So if both of you can just, touch upon, because so much of technologies and so much of things are coming around. So what are the expected or the forthcoming skill sets which normally an HR professional, as a professional, which they want to work in shared services environment, will be of useful for them. So if you can just throw some light on, both of you can just throw some light on that, would be a great thing. Maybe the listeners might be from, maybe we may, there might be some students or there might be some colleges also looking at them, and seeing our presentation today. So that might be of helpful for them as well.
I can go first. Feel free to add
Absolutely.
on. I think I'll share some of the insights in terms of the skills. And if I understood the question, it's what's the skill set that the HR needs to have in order to leverage some of these tools. Okay. One of the key skill set which I feel HR needs to have, and I'll just take from the last discussion that we had, as we go about doing any sort of AI, ML, whether we are using any predictive analytics, keep in mind that all of this will be based on historical data and trends. It is very important that HR studies and analyzes these trends to ensure that the outcome which you are deciding is based, if you are adding a human touch. For example, you can get swayed, like it gives you that based on historical trend, the hiring source should be for a certain skill, always from this segment of population. But that is only based on the data for your organization. Okay, you have to look at it that as you grow and expand, where you are hiring, what is the area. So HR definitely needs to have that broader perspective and experience to leverage that outcome fully. So that I feel is one for most things. The second aspect where I feel in terms of HR's role as they move forward is to see they need to have a certain level of acumen around embracing and leveraging technology. You can have the best of the platform, the best of your investments in using a platform which has everything. But HR would have to ensure that when you do the process transformation, when you look at a process, whether it's onboarding, whether it's exit or separation, when you look at these processes, you have to ensure that are you embracing technology and building in that overall process? Because I still feel HR would have the ownership of the process. So they need to ensure they understand the process end to end and then fit in some of these aspects within that overall process, ensuring that it is catering to the right outcome. So data-driven insights to me is foundation. You have to drive a lot of these outcomes based on data, but keep in mind that you have to use your judgment at the end as you are leveraging this data.
Agreed. So much agree with Anirban. And now, if at all, we are looking at, colleagues who wants to join the HR space. So one is, as rightly said, don't think that you're getting into a people's business. So it's just that, how do you come across? How do you really work with the people? That will only really help your career. You first need to understand the process itself. Reason being that while we may have a lot of tools, a lot of applications, but we need to understand their logic. We need to understand why it is there, because most of the time we become the slave for those tools and applications, and we don't really understand why it is there, and at times then we get lost. So I think it is very important that as you get into this journey, you must invest yourself to understand what goes behind in running these applications tools, so that you're better equipped to really understand the gaps. Because as what rightly said by Anirban, nothing is perfect. Everything is, experiential based that these tools are coming in. And we are the ones who keep on giving the input to really, get the releases made in the product gaps. And even of the best products of SAP, I've seen there's so much of opportunity because we learn through experience and we keep on, giving it. And that's the way that they keep on evolving it. So one, definitely that is really required. The other is the analytical bent of mind. So most of the times, again, I'll agree with Anirban, we think that, okay, we really don't need to have much more skill set of, using, Microsoft applications. And I'm going to the basics, because that's where at times people struggle. Because analytics is not that it has to be a RPA driven analytics. Analytics is something, how do you really look at the data, get the right understanding, and create your own viewpoint from the data. But how would you do it in case if you're not able to do it through your ways of working and you're very much dependent on somebody else? So I can let you know I have a COE for analytics teams, right? And they provide a lot of insights. But the users, if they're just dependent on that, to the acumen of that group, they will always get limited. And how do we make sure that, we are a little ahead in terms of, giving a little more, as we always say, good is not good enough. That is where, if you start building that acumen, and which is all about practice. None of us had learned analytics when we joined our organizations, I'm sure. Many years back in MBA, we did not have an analytics as a subject as well, by the way. So I think we've just learned over a period of time how to play with the data, how to use it. You guys are really at a strong position now because you have a lot of avenues to learn. It's just that you need to have it in your mind that I need to have an analytical bent of mind, even though I'm part of HR, it still makes sense. So I guess if you equip yourself with these, tools, you will be better off. And then to the point of continuous improvement, it's a tool which has to be used everywhere. Ask the 5 whys, why we're doing it, who is benefiting from it. Doesn't mean anything which was set up long back is equally good right now. So, having that kind of acumen is going to really make you stand apart and, out in the crowd. So, yeah, that's going to be my take.
And just only one point in terms of if as HR professionals or new professionals who are trying to enter, as we look at just India alone, it's not that we are just catering to India. The shared services and operations team in India is catering to various other geographies. And one of the big aspects within HR is data protection as well as privacy. So the GDPR rules by country and region differ. What works, regulatory and compliance in one country and region, especially Asia Pacific, we provide support across so many countries and geographies. it is important that as an HR professional, you constantly embrace in understanding what are the latest and greatest in terms of GDPR, personal data protection, and what is specific requirement for each of the countries and geographies. That is very important as we look at supporting large global organization, or as you look about expanding and growing, you would need to ensure as HR professionals you have the regulatory and compliance knowledge by countries and geographies, as well as what are the data protection criteria and rules, because that's paramount when it comes to HR.
Yeah. I think this one segment, I think, these questions will definitely give answers. I mean, different thought process for the people who have been just wanting to get into the space, or people who are already in the space, they really want to learn the curve and move to the next orbit. So thank you, dear panelists. So Rashmi, just moving, putting into the next gear. So I just want to ask you a different question altogether. So we are talking about the shared services transition and all. So how can an HR leader ensure that the transition to a shared services model that does not actually compromise the quality of HR services or the employee experience? Because from the questions I have learned, like people wanted to somebody wanted to get into the HR services model as a business thing. So how you actually work on that?
See, the thing is that it's no different than any other transition that you do when you are trying to serve end customer, because over there as well, it is the differential customer experience, which means the quality cannot be compromised, and along with the other service delivery SLAs that you have. In the HR space, I think the paramount is the quality of the experience. Where is the compromise is that something which is more touch and feel, because when it comes to shared service, of course, a couple of years back, it was similar work, on the same design and the model which used to get transitioned. Now it is not the HR VP, somebody else responding. But then right now, the space we are in, it is like you don't really have to have a face-to-face or pick up the phone line or send a mail. You put up a ticket and you'll get an answer. So that kind of connect is missing, which is a huge change for everyone, including all of us, because we are so used to just going by the desk, getting our query solved. So I think that is one change management, while the HR leader does it with the employees when this change is happening. But from the point of view of what are the critical things that they would surely have to look at is how does the quality of the output doesn't get compromised. Of course, the model changes, understood, but the quality of the output in terms of the details, what is getting looked at, there is no, rework, or there are not too many exchange of, mailers, because the intent has to be at first time you understand the problem statement very well so that you're able to solve it. So first time response and first time resolution and response time. So there are a lot of, internal SLAs as we keep for ourselves, but those are the areas that we focus at. And I think HR leaders are equally, I would say, they've become operational leaders as well, because they are in the space and they understand their customers' expectation very well. So if you have those expectations set right upfront, beginning of the transition, everything just falls in place. And then, of course, you have those hypercare and other, time that you spend on to really ensure that if there are any gaps, is there any observation that gets addressed. But it is not something that it will be treated very differently in an HR space versus an insurance operations versus a benefit consulting organization. So the rules are the same for all. But then the change management is something that is to be done upfront with our employees.
And I think
Sujit, I see a question in the chat.
Just to add, I think you mentioned around change management. So when you are looking at transformation and going to a shared services model, this is complex. Earlier, this is global environment. The employees, managers were used to interacting with local staff within the country. Now you're moving to a shared services model, which is millions of miles apart. So it's very important that as the HR shared services professionals, they just don't have to understand the SOP. What is the standard operating procedure? It goes much beyond that. Whether you understand the cultural nuances, whether you understand how can you make it simple, like, it's all about experience. I think she mentioned about back and forth emails. You might think that you are just getting the right inputs, but it might be causing a very antiquated experience by sending several emails when they're just trying to get one task done, which was earlier done in the same manner with one email. So those are finer nuances, and that can only happen if you have the right change management. Change management is a very pivotal thing when you move and deploy shared services, or when you do an HR operating model redesign. You're moving from a local setup to a shared service model, and you are changing the operating model. So it's important that you focus on the right change aspect to ensure it is successful and the adoption is high.
Yeah. Thank you, Anirban. I mean, that is in fact, a very minute touch point kind of a thing, but I mean, you have touched that. I think that's a brilliant one. So, Rashmi, you want to take some questions in between?
Yes.
I had this question in the web chat from Gautamji. How do we plan for improving HRS's landscape? That is assessment of our HR ops, and then building or buying HR services from vendor partners. And also, how do we measure ROI for HR tech analytics spend? So to answer your question, I think we are all getting very practical in this zone. Very practical is the word. I don't think so. The intent is to really, if it is in-house, even in shared services, we like to have it all by ourselves to manage it. We look at it, what is the best proposition? Like most of the time, the payroll is the best proposition to be done by a vendor rather than doing it yourself, because there are many risks associated with it. Likewise, the L&D, rather than having in-house, trainers, rather than tap on the best talent in the market. So there's always a mixed approach that is taken. And frankly, the as we all say, the cost and benefit analysis is done upfront, that having it within the organization, is it a good idea? Or and I must tell you, there is a lot of good services outside. I mean, and I think tapping that and having risk-free services is what we look at. Because when you have it internal, then of course your attrition, then your continuity, and your making sure that the knowledge is getting passed on, all those are the challenges. Would you want to invest your time in that, or whether you outsource it and do it? I think that is a mixed bag. So depending on how your organization is placed in terms of investing on that, you will take a decision. In terms of the ROI, so see, HR tech is something which has been there for some time. Now it is taking a persona that, it is becoming big. And why it is becoming big? Because most of the global organizations, Fortune 500 organizations, where you're dealing with more than, God knows, 150,000 employees, that is where you need this. It is the need of the hour, because you can't run an operations without, investing on this. So that becomes like a basic requirement for them to do it. And when you say, what is the ROI on it? See, I would have any which ways invested through people to get the output. If I invest on tech, then of course the dependency, as we have, goes away. The simplified works get done through these propositions. So again, the ROI comes out of it because for two aspects. And in HR landscape, it's first is creating that differential employee experience. So employees are just looked at as the customer end of the day. So any HR leader emphasizes much more on quality than on anything else. That's definitely one. But as we're getting more, I would say, professional in the space, we selfishly want optimization of the cost as well. So it goes hand in hand. And analytics, I must let you, while we had a data lake, we all had so much of data in HR. It never got used in the right way. So right now, I think it's more of an investment to see what will really be the outcome, and would it really benefit in arresting attrition, in really getting the predictability, and why do we need so much of data is the first question is getting asked. So I think so right now in that space, we are not really, trying to get a gauge of, what will be the cost benefit analysis. It's more about how can we use this data selfishly for our purpose of the organization to address the cause of concerns on the ground. So I think that is more on, again, on quality than on the moolah that you're going to get out of it, or any benefit that cost benefit you're going to get out of it. That will definitely come out as a residual, but it's not the game right now. The only reason to really have this analytics done. So I would say it is always a mixed bag. Depending on like an IT organization, this analytics really helps, because the skills that you hire and then the benchmarking that you do, and you really want to have a right balance for you to see how much can you afford, and where do you invest, how do you budget. So it does really helps the cause. So I hope, Gautam ji, that helped in addressing your question.
I'll just add a
Yes,
few additional pointers. I think Rashmi covered it well around mentioning about when you are doing outsourcing, you are outsourcing the risk. Okay, I think as organizations look at functions on what they can outsource or what they can do in-house, one key focus area is the focus of the organization is towards revenue and growth, and HR is right front and center in the driver's seat, helping organizations grow. So there are items which you can outsource to a provider who is doing it, like payroll. There are companies which are doing full managed services payroll. They have AI engines built in for Anomaly. They have chat first approach. They are investing in products and technology so that you get the proper outcome. Of course, then you are also outsourcing the risk over, so that you don't have to maintain a huge internal staff to do and manage it, because that's not your core competency. You can focus your core competency in growing revenue for the organization and outsource the task which another organization is skilled, equipped, and doing it for multiple clients, where they have an AI ML engine, they are investing on that technology rather than you trying to invest within your area. Now, the question around what right platform to check, whether it's SF, Workday, Oracle, it would be injustice if we try to answer it in a short forum. We can only give you anecdotes. But look, a lot of that would depend on what your current state is, what's your future state is you're looking at, what's the growth trajectory, whether you want to look at best of breed or you want to look at one unified platform which has everything. And a lot of those can be determined, which is bespoke for your organization. So this is an advisory offering. I think cloud transition is a big area. We have done over 5,000 plus clients. We have transitioned right from PeopleSoft days, SAP, ECC6, and older technologies to the cloud ones, whether it's SF, Oracle, or it's Workday. And there is a huge advisory component around it. So once we cater to all the aspects around what are the inputs, what's the risk, what's the transformation involved, what is the platform which would give you that holistic one platform approach, and then we determine the ROI. And then you can go about shortlisting the right platform.
Yeah. So just to add, Gautamji, while I looked at your question, see, as what rightly said by Anirban, see, what is happening is that whether SuccessFactors, whether Workday, they have bouquet of offerings, end to end, right? That is, of course, again, to what Anirban also mentioned, that if at all you want to have the best of breed, then of course you take the complete solution. It really helps. But most of the times, and I'm sure every organization has some solutions already in place, not that they don't have, and they are already, the contracts are for X number of years, and then you need to prioritize one over the other in terms of whether you want to invest on all. So your decision making is going to be on that aspect, that what are the applications that you want to continue with, which you have in your organization currently, and then what specific is the need where you want to really bring in Oracle or SuccessFactors or Workday. Now, accordingly, then you take the understanding, because while it may look for that life cycle as well, that it is going to cater to your requirement, but when you go into detail, maybe the way that your customer or your CHRO wants the way to work it may not cater to. So that is the reason that at times we do get bought that, these organizations, these tools, they will have answer to all. But when you do go through L3, rather I will say L4, L5, you will understand that there are certain aspects, a platform is able to cater to while the other is not able to. I think that is where then you will have to take the decision. And that's the reason you'll have to go a little deep in terms of the offering, particular offering. Otherwise, if you take as a bouquet, complete end-to-end, that takes care of at least, if not more, 80% of your problem statements overall. But let me tell you, the best of organizations in the world are also not able to take those decisions because it gets driven, again, as I always say, by cost and other factors. So it's not a very simple, straightaway solution that, okay, just bring it on. So that also happens. So I would say that if you're looking at an answer over here, I would say that look at, the modules, what really you need it. That's a necessity for your organization. Good to have, and, really a comfortable way to, have it is the other aspect of it. If it is necessary, then you compare between all the three. Would that solve your problem? Yeah, that's the way that to go for it practically on the ground. Yeah. I hope that helps, Papanji. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant one.
We're not answering Urvashi's question.
No.
Yeah.
Urvashi's question is there. So, but, there is one more add-on that, if you can just pick up, then, we will close with Gautamjit. So he has just asked for, thanks a lot, Rashmi and Anirban. Follow up. One of the key challenge we face is that they have HR services in 2-3 pockets. Payroll is outsourced via finance accounts. L&D is internal and mostly insourced by technical SMEs. HRMS, we have an application, but how to integrate these across workforce for seamless user experience?
Look, I'll take that. And we encounter a lot of this as we go and support clients. That is an area we look at because you need to have end-to-end process and harmonized fully. That's what we mean by fully harmonized processes. You may have co-sourced, fully outsourced in areas like you mentioned, whether it is payroll, which is outsourced, learning, which is insourced, and then you have HRMS platform. But that's where it's important to look at your overall process from hire to retire. When I look at a process of, say, in HR process around transfer, when you are moving a transfer, maybe it can be a global transfer, can be an internal lateral move or an internal job posting, which is growth. You have to look at it has an impact where it will touch payroll because it's a promotion. There's an impact to pay. There has an impact to learning because you have to ensure that the new person coming in is catered and tied to the right learning skill set, training, and various aspects. And then there is an HR aspect around the overall transfer. So again, there is a need of looking into the process, the transfer process end to end, and ensuring that these pieces are all tied together. Okay, this would be again an advisory offering where you would have to bring in the advisory to see how you can remove inefficiencies because you have different people managing it, and how can you ensure that it also enhances the experience. A lot of times we see challenges whenever it's payroll, which is outsourced, and HR, which is managed in-source, there is a tendency that there is back and forth happening between groups. And the actual sufferer in the entire experience is the employee who's not sure, he's waiting for an answer. Maybe his paycheck is not right, but things are going internally. And that's where it's important that you look at process end to end, tighten and remove the inefficiencies and gaps. And that is one of our big aspects and focus areas when we go and do HR advisory for clients. Rashmi, anything for you to add?
No, absolutely. I think you said it all. So I think those are the ways and means. And the other element that would just bring into play is that, at times when we say that maybe we have one product catering to everything, and that solves all our problems so that we don't really have to manage, we just manage one client. We also need to be cognizant that, then we are way too much depending on one, entity. And that can also bring in risk later. So while if it all, you're talking about seamless experience, it can still come through. But all I'll say is that, we'll have to be really prudent and mindful that have solutions where you don't create way too much dependency, that when it comes to negotiating table, because you're so much dependent that they know that, you'll not be able to move to a better solution because, all the eggs are in one basket. So at times, even to decouple it and still work through a seamless experience, at times is a more practical approach to do it. And specifically, payroll for sure, because otherwise, I've seen that, in RFPs and all, it becomes quite a challenge because any solution like this to get built up on another platform will take you at least 8-9 months, depending on the complexity of the organization. So like, if I talk about myself, I have international mobility team sitting out of Hungary. We're catering to, 46 countries across. So all those nuances to really seed into, just one big entity, and then later realizing that, the costs are changing and you don't see the merit of, giving that cost for that service, then you get at a risk. So all I'll say is that, evaluate your options well, not necessarily that, just having one vendor for everything is the best solution. A seamless experience can be provided other ways, as long as every entity is playing their role effectively. But yes, for the employee, the window should be one. They cannot be running after different, windows to get your query solved. There has to be just one window for them to book their observations, to register their queries, and that has to get solved internally through all the other channels and all vendors who are into play. That is the way, practically, it's better to be risk-free in these aspects. Yeah.
So I think, I am parking my question apart because, we are talking about employee experience now. I am talking about, the attendees experience. So better give them a better experience. So they have a couple of questions to ask. So better to ask them one by one. Then, I will, if time permits, I will ask you the couple of questions which I have in mind. So quickly, there is a question from Urvashi Gupta. I think she might be working with a startup company, or might be a startup owner, maybe a startup founder. So her question is, hello everyone, my question is how to cater HR evolution in a startup company, how to not lack if you're working in a startup.
Yeah, so I think we have worked in several startup companies which are evolving very fast. That's one of the hallmark in startups, whether it's Gojek, Grabs, and these are all Asia Pacific startups. Whether it's Gojek, Grab, Tokopedia's fast growing, when we started the deployment, they started with 600. Now the organization in 5 years is 10,000 employees. Now, one of the things which is fundamentally important is you have to understand what's the growth trajectory. But it's very important that right from inception, if you have processes which are well defined, rather than waiting for the organization to grow and then deal with challenges, it's always good to have processes which are well defined, which would help you cater to that growth. Because when you are growing fast, which is a rapid growth year over year, and you are increasing 5 times every year, year over year, you have to ensure that you have processes which are well defined. If you know that it's fast growing, like all these companies invested heavily on technology, and the fruit or the ROI is immense. Now these companies from 600 employees are 10,000 employees, but their data has integrity. They have a lot of historic data to refer back. They have transactional or history which is built in, which they can leverage to be predictive. And they also ensure that there's experience of employees who join in, because they are hiring people at a fast rate. The experience is enhanced, because these are key aspects. As you grow the organization and you're a startup, you don't want it to be a revolving door. You have to give employees that experience, which is top notch, which also gives them more reasons to stay in your startup so that they can help you grow and take the company to next level. So I feel those would be top in my mind. So investing in technology and ensuring right processes are defined, to me, is very, very important.
Yeah, thank you, Arban. So maybe we have a question from Mansi. Manasi Srivastava, as we are becoming more and more technology oriented, how important it is for professionals in shared services space to be technologically trained, certified, or the focus should be more on bringing in tools and apps that outsourcing the processes while the professional focus on their learning and development in core HR domain.
Okay, meaning,
Yes. Yeah.
go ahead, Mansi. I'll let you. Go ahead, Rashmi. I'll let you
Yes.
start.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you so much, Anirban. So I would say that it is important while we bring in tools, technologies, but even to run those tool technologies, that mindset of understanding technology, what it can deliver, is required. This is like a necessary evil. We might as well embrace it and get ourselves on top of the game. And specific to the zone or the domain that you're working in. Certainly, because that really helps, one to really understand what kind of problem statements come in. I can let you know, I have a lot of bots in the organization. And while everything has been tested, done, but some of the other thing comes in, right? And that is where at times, even to understand the problem statement, somebody has to really, not that you have to learn yourself on RPA, but you need to understand how to even relay that problem statement to the right set of people. If you don't understand it, if you're not able to logically relate to what has gone wrong, because your role will not be to troubleshoot, but your role is going to be to relate that to your end customers. So if I'm overseeing Egypt and there's a problem of bot in Egypt, when you speak to the HRO or the account manager there, you should be in a position to state the problem statement very clearly, while you will have a team in the back end really working for you to figure out a solution. So if that confidence is not there, then what is the value that the role will bring in? And if you're the customer of it, then also you need to understand what is being told. So I would say that this is definitely going to help the cause. And this is technology wise that I'm sure in the coming years we'll only go ahead and challenge ourselves to be better at and have more technology driven approach and digitized approach. That's the way I'm going to look at it. Over to you, Anirban. Yeah.
No, I think you covered it. And for Mansi and others, like, look, all these platforms, although there is digitization, the beauty of the platform is you don't need to know a whole lot of technology. It's all self-intuitive, easy to learn and use the tools. It doesn't need you to know SQL skills anymore. You can build reports by drag and drop. It doesn't need you to learn a lot about using the tool, like what's the navigation, I should remember it. You would have SOPs which define it, but everything is searchable. You can search within the application and you can, whether it's creating a job description or a job profile or creating a location, these are very easy. That's with the advent of all these platforms, they are investing within it so that it's easier for you. But as you look at HR service, shared services employees, one key focus for any shared services is you need to ensure documents and SOPs are up to date. They are up to date so that you have to cater to the risk around attrition, losing staff. It can be a situation where people are coming in and leaving, but you have to ensure your SOPs are up to date. And the people who are coming in, they're given time to go through the SOPs so that they can perform effectively. And the last, I think one key area where you should invest in is the importance around data privacy and data protection. Because within shared services, that's a huge area of risk. And you need to know what is compliant, how you should share data, with whom you should share data. And there should be a lot of training and investment which is done around data privacy and protection.
Yeah, thank you, both of the panelists. So there is a specific question for you, Anirban. Let me read out for you.
Yeah, so I can read that, Sujit. So again, it's from Amit around the right size of an organization in terms of employee strength, geographic presence, and all. When you start thinking of setting up regional HR shared services, okay.
Yeah.
Now, again, as we look at companies, one of the focus around shared services is you have to ensure you're providing 24/7 service, or how you are providing near 24/7 service. I wouldn't say 24/7. It depends on the size of the organization. Also, it depends you're doing shared services setup so that you can cover round the clock. So you don't need people to work 24/7. You're using geographies and low cost centers to set up shared service of centers which can cater to the global time zone, so that you're not stretching any certain employees within a specific zone. And also, I feel from BCP and all, it's good to be diversified across different locations. Now, I think the volume of transactions definitely plays a big role, and the countries, if you are global and if you have to cover across the globe, and if you have population size, to me, if you have population size more than 3,500 and higher, then you start thinking about, and you are more than 5-7 countries, then you should start thinking about looking at shared services, because then you can drive efficiency rather than having local resources trying to do it. You can free up local HR to do more strategic work, get a shared services set up, and that allows you to start leveraging these efficient. The moment you have shared services, you'll start gaining efficiency out of the entire process. So that would be a very high level answer. I definitely feel there is complexities. There are a lot of other things which we look at when we look at a shared service setup and an operating model redesign.
Yeah. No, absolutely, I agree with Anirban, because to your point, because we did have, smaller countries, similar operations, and we were trying to take a decision. So it is all about scale. It starts with efficiency, but then the complexity and the legalities of that particular country also plays a role, right? Because of compliance issues, the GDPR issues. At times, you can't move out data from Europe to India. So then that doesn't sounds to be a good option. So the conversation always starts with efficiency, that now we are catering to an X number of people. If it all we centralize it, and if we use the tap the benefit of shared services, maybe we are much more better in cost saving. But as rightly said, there are other complexities which are also to be checked for you to make a business case strong enough for this. But I think the size of your organization says that you can start looking at it and having the checklist of seeing whether it is viable or not. That's for sure.
I'm just going back to my drawing board with my
Yes.
last question. So, we were talking about the HR analytics and, data-driven insights from in the context we are talking about. So, how we are actually leveraging these analytics and data-driven insights in the shared services model, in which, we can take a key HR strategy or decision making. So if you have quickly touch upon any of the case studies which you have implemented in your organizations, might be of help, maybe in just 2 minutes, because we have just 5 more minutes to go. Both of you can just touch upon maybe on any of these case studies where you have used this from the data-driven insights. So 2 minutes for each of you. Thank you.
Sure. I can go first.
Over to you, Anirban.
You free to add. Look, I'll just explain one case. It is very important when you're looking at analytics, especially in shared services, you look across functions. Okay, you cannot be focused around just one function if you are in talent administrator and you have no visibility to learning data. Okay, that is not going to give you and enable you with data driven. When you are looking at talent and performance, and you come up with hot skills and new skills which employee needs to learn, there has to be a connection with your learning team to see whether you have the right courses available so that employees can do self-learning. So that to me is a power of analytics which you bring in, where these tie-up happens. And if you don't see that there are gaps within learning content as well as courses, that's when the learning team can start working on building the right courses and ensuring things are connected. Similarly, there are tie-ups between skills and recruitment, okay? Because if you need to know what skills is required for performance and growth, and then the recruitment team also needs to be aware that these are the skills that they should focus on. So there has to be a cross dependency, and reporting and analytics needs to be across functions, not siloed to that function.
No, absolutely. And as rightly said that, see, it has to be data-driven approach across the life cycle, hire to retire, is getting looked at and needs to be looked at. So right from the skill set that you want to hire, whether you want to scan it from inside, you need to have the data to really understand that. That's a starting point. Do you have data of good quality enough to really decipher, any output that you want to take it from that? The other is in terms of even the life cycle of, the queries that you get, the kind of requests that you get. So data analytics that we are using is that, if at all I get so many requests like this, why don't we make it self-service? What does it take? Why a colleague has to work through it to, give a response and look into it. So that is the way that, we are looking at, how do we solve for efficiency. And the other is, I can be very straightforward to say that a lot of reports which an HR VP wants, because we run an organization, benchmarking, a lot of stuff here and there. And then we realize that, because that's where the data has helped us to understand what exactly they are asking for. And if this is what they're asking for, it can't be ad hoc. It has to be something which they need to get every month at this time and on the click of the button. So that is the way that we have been, the data needs to be used. And as we evolve, the more we get the data and the more ML and AI gets used on it, the more insightful it is going to be to really help the cause. And end of the day, what's that going to help is that, you need any information, click of the button, you have it without any dependency and of complete 100% quality. I think that's one of the big call outs as well. Because as you know, across the organization, because there's so many people who are putting the data, the line manager, the enabling functions, at times the data loses its sanity because it's not correct, it's not validated. I think that becomes a starting point to clean it up and then to use it effectively for all this purpose. So yeah, it's going to be an ongoing journey for sure.
Thank you all. So it's an amazing day for me. It's like, start with the day with the conversing with two senior vice presidents, senior panelists like you, and it's like for me, I've got too much of insights, and maybe I can use this in many of my conversations when I'm meeting up with BPM member companies as well. So I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation with you all too. So I think today's session had shed light on the very critical role that HR plays in the dynamic landscape. And thank you so much, the panelists. So our esteemed panelists have shared insights, and these insights were invaluable. I'm truly, from my bottom of my heart, thank you so much for joining, both of you, today. And also, want to thank Neeraj, because he will not be able to, he didn't make it today, but he was there for preparatory calls and he have shared his time in between. So thank you, Rashmi, and also want to thank Neeraj and Anirban Das for your valuable time and support towards the NASSCOM for building this ecosystem. So, and also I would like to thank my BPM vertical colleagues. They might be here, Sukanya, Priya, Shandon, and Sonu, for putting this through. And they are actually the team behind the scene and orchestrating this BPM council. So thank you, the entire team behind putting us through. So let's take these learning towards forward and adapt to change, and continue building these stronger HR capabilities that drive organization excellence in the shared services model. So thank you all the delighted the attendees today. We have got around 130 people live attending the session. Thank you each and everyone for contributing to the session and being live and being so proactive in terms of putting your questions in the chat box. And I think I have made some effort in terms of answering almost 90% of the questions you have been asked. And thank you so much for your contribution and making it more live and being part of this enriching discussion. So we will be coming up with the third webinar soon. So we will see you soon with that. And once again, thank you, Anirban, and thank you, Rashmi, for joining us today. Extremely thankful to you for taking your time out and being with us for this day. Thank you, and wishing you a very good day to all. Thank you.
Yeah, Sujit, thank you so much for being the moderator, and thank you, Shannon, for coordinating. Really appreciate it. And of course, to the BPM panel. So thank you for inviting us over. I'm sure Anirban and I had a great time answering. It was like, okay, it's home, because that's what we do, throughout. So it was definitely a pleasure. So thank you
And
for
also,
being
and also, I
great host.
want to, last but not the least, also want to thank the entire team. Within your organization that you have been effortlessly working for at least maybe in the last 2-3 months. They have been trying out, figuring out your time. And I think at least 3 or 4 of your colleagues who have been part of this journey, all the 2-3 months behind, we have been working across. So thank you all for putting your effort and time and energy for making it a successful one. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks
Pleasure.
everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Take care, all of you. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.